Okay, so now we start the random or the scripting on the whole puzzle itself. This is where we've programmed the actual puzzle pieces, the buttons themselves. Now we have to tell it to do some programming on the random layer, and this random layer is where the scripting loops, and it's got a do while looping and all those kinds of things. Okay, so all we're going to do is open the, you want to make sure that you're clicked here, open the actions layer, and now we're going to come in here and tell it to do some stuff. Okay, we're going to say loop count is equal right now, whoops, let me go back, gosh darn it, I'll move that, is equal right now to 0. Now we're going to say while number, okay, while, here's the condition, number loop count, and then you should know this, whoops, less than 12, and then we're going to tell it to do something while that number is, the loop count is less than 12. And we can make sure that's all in there. Now we're going to give it the loop count, we're going to turn the loop count into a variable and say that that loop count now is equal to number loop count, and we want it to do something when it's doing it, when it's got the loop count. So we want to say loop count is equal to 0 right now. So the variable loop count is equal to 0. While, and then it says number loop count is less than 12. Loop count equals number loop count plus 1. Okay. We want to set property. Now, here's our target. This should look familiar. Now we're going to tell it to do the piece. Piece add loop count. Okay, so we've got that, and this is going to be underscore x, and we're telling it to do a random, this is the x value, and here's the number, 550, and terminate that. Okay, so now we're saying we're setting the property for the pieces. The big piece now is going to add loop count to the x and the random of 550, so we're giving x the value of 550, the size of the movie, and we're going to say set property, this should look familiar again, forward slash, whoops, gosh darn it, here we go, and forward slash piece. So remember, this is important because we need to know the capital letter piece. Add loop count, and again we're going to go to the Y random, and do you remember what the size of our Y random was? Remember, that was 400. Oops. Terminate that line of code. Now we're going to set the property of the actual piece itself, the size. Remember, I told you we would be doing that again. Oops. Okay. So here's our target, add loop count. Here's the X scale, and we're telling it what size we want that X scale to be. Okay, we're going to set the property for the Y scale. underscore. Oh, no wonder that didn't come up right. Let's make that, oops. Okay, now we're at the Y. Okay, it's really important that you pay attention. Notice this was all in black. It was because I had put a dash and not a underscore. So it's real important that you pay attention to how your program is looking, because if you don't get these colors, it means you've done something wrong. Okay, so we've got to pay real close attention to that. And then we're going to terminate this line of code, and that's it. So this is what your code should look like. And hopefully we've done everything right so that when we test the movie, everything will line up correctly. Okay, so let's go back to our scene here, close our action box. This is what the movie looks like. Make sure you save this, and then we'll go ahead and test it. So make sure you save it. Okay, so if you test your movie, you're probably ending up with some issues. If I go to test this, notice I've got some problems. Well, remember when I said that we really needed to make sure our things were correct? Well, I need to go through and make sure that all of my pieces here have, all of my names are capital. Okay, so piece 1, piece 2, all of those, I need to go in and make sure that that's capital, so that's not my issue. I know my programming's clean. So now remember what I said about naming conventions. We need to make sure that all of our stuff is named correctly. Piece 1 needs to be the same. We need to make sure that these pieces here, that the piece is capital. I would even go ahead and make this D draggable on capital as well, just because, you know what, we don't want to take any chances with our programming. So go through, troubleshoot it. You know your programming is clean, so if you're programming, your buttons look the same. Whoops. If you're programming buttons here, your program on your buttons looks the same as mine. Okay, let me go ahead and close this. This is correct. I know all of this is right because I've done this before and I've used the same stuff, but I've got to make sure that my naming is correct. Okay, so again, here's my programming. This is all the program. And what I'll probably do is I will drop this into a Word document somewhere so that you can make sure that you can just copy and paste this exact program, because I know this is right. I also know that my math random here is correct. So now I've got to go back and troubleshoot, and you know, naming is everything, dang it. We've got to make sure that these are all capital P's and capital D's, and make sure that this is, you know, the instance is all correct. So go back and name all that, rename that stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll see if that fixes our errors for us. So go ahead, pause the movie and change all your names, and we'll come back and we'll hopefully fix it. Okay, one of the places where I'm finding my error is when I look at my pieces over here, I should just have a draggable piece that has script on it. What this means here is when I throw this, I have an invisible button frame stuff going on. You'll notice right up here I have an A. I don't want any script there. So if you ended up with script there, you need to take it out, okay, and you need to come here. Oops. You need to come here on this button. So what I did is I worked in my library over here. You need to make sure that the button is selected, not this frame. Okay, there's a big difference. The button is selected. If I double click it, okay, I don't want to be there. I want to be only, I'm going to click off right here on this button action, the button itself. And you'll notice when I go to put that program there, it's taken it off piece 10. Now notice piece 11 has the same problem. If I double click piece 11 over here in my library, I noticed that what ended up happening is I put my script right here. You know, those are some of those mistakes that we make that you just don't anticipate. And I take it off, it's there, and guess what? My script is gone too from there, so I don't have to worry about it. I go back to my, I'm going to close this, make sure that I'm going to click off, click it one more time, so I'm just clicking the button itself. I don't want this frame, I want the button, okay? I'm going to go back to actions, and I'm going to paste my stuff in there. Notice here's 11 again, so so far I'm good there. I got to go through and make sure that I have all my buttons, so that's another big deal. So let's make sure. Let's go into draggable A6, grab that, make sure that see, we don't have any actions there. So we want to make sure that script. So what I would do if I were you is I would actually go in and make sure that all of these pieces, and you'll know if you don't have it all here. So I have 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to make sure that I pick up 9. Okay, so I've got 1, 4, I've got 2, 3 right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm missing 9. So I want to go into draggable 9, double click it, which takes me, make sure I'm here, click off, click the button again, make sure you're not in here, that. Okay, notice how this is blue and only the frame is selected. That's where I'm going to get into trouble. I don't want the frame selected. So click off, click this, and that's the button. And we're going to go ahead and put our properties on our button. And notice it throws draggable piece in there. Okay, this is how your symbol library over here should be looking. You should have current selection, invisible button, scene 1. This means there's action script in random pieces, frame 1. You shouldn't have any openable boxes over here, no plus signs over here with any action script on it, because this means that there's action on that frame. We don't want that. We've got to make sure that that's not there. Go ahead and hit save. Make sure all this is correct, and then come back and let. Okay, so I found my error, and one of the things you want to make sure, this is in my math random. All my other script looks great. You know, we walk through, we fix the errors on our draggable piece. The one thing you want to do is make sure that you do not have anything after 8. Okay, so if you have a 9, take it out. This is what your script should look like. We've gone through this before. This is my random loop count, but make sure you don't have a 9. There's no number 9, because when you add another line of script, it's looking for it. So eliminate that and make sure that that's no longer part of your problem. Now if I go to Control Test Scene, voila, here's my movie. And sure enough, let's start putting this little puppy together, see if we can get our little movie to go together, because that's really where we're at now. We need to see if we can get this puppy to be put together. Otherwise, we got to go back, we got to play around, we got to figure out what the problem is. So there we go, there's the feathers, which means this one goes here. I love it when it comes together like it's supposed to. There's that piece. Ha! Thank you, I love it. Here's the birds, cool. Yeah, you know, this is one of those situations where one little thing just, gosh, can really screw you up when you go to put these little kids together. Let's drop this one here. What do you know? It's looking good. Yeah, oftentimes it's just that one little piece of script. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to go in and clean all this up right here. But once again, this is a good example for us when we have those errors. You know, I could redo this whole video and show you how to clean it up and and take all those errors out, but it's good for you to see that when we have those errors, how we have to go in and clean it up and look at it and make sure that our program is clean. So again, what I did, remember, is I went in, and we have to get rid of, if you have a line 9, get rid of it, because that's going to screw us up. Make sure all of this is correct. Make sure also, remember, we went through and we troubleshooted. We went through and just really did a good troubleshoot on this. We changed our draggable pieces, the naming, we got all the naming together. We even went in and looked at our programming here on our buttons. Okay, I did have some problems with that, but we went in and I cleaned it all up. Here's my property strings. So here's what your program should look like. Okay. So this is pretty close to being clean. I don't think you can get any cleaner than this. So on press, start drag, on release. Here's my string, my substrings. Make sure you have everything terminated here. You've got this open bracket. You've got another open bracket. We've got one closed bracket here, but then we go ahead and open another one. So we've got to make sure that they're all terminated, and we've got these two that terminate the whole program. So again, here's what the program looks like. Make sure that when you go in, this is exactly what it looks like, okay? I'm going to go slow so you can see it. And then after the stop drag, down here is this. You know, sometimes it's just those little things that just sometimes can drive you crazy when you're doing programming. But again, this is a real good exercise in how we go in and fix those problems. Also, this is what your script should look like. You should only have an action script on frame 1, scene 1, frame 1. Well, in this case, it says scene 1, but in yours it would be jigsaw puzzle. And then our draggable pieces. We shouldn't have any little boxes like this. Okay, you should not have any boxes over here in these draggable pieces. If you do, it's because you've got script on a frame and not on the button. Okay, so you've got to make sure that that's correct. Okay, so one more time, let's look at this. Here's what it looks like. Now we can kind of go in and fix clean up those little boxes that we were having the problems with. I can go now, and by the way, I can get rid of all of these little, let's go ahead and unlock, let's clear the guides. There, we can go in and see a little clearer now what's going on here. Okay, so you want to come in and clean all those boxes up. Okay. You want to get everything lined up so it looks good. So go in, line everything up as best you can. Yeah, we got to clean some of this up. But anyway, I want you to go in, line everything up, start cleaning it up, get it all set up nice and pretty. Most likely going to have to come in here and really kind of clean this up. But, this was part of our cutting problem, so we'll be able to see better. Let's go back and test our scene again. There it is. So put your movie together. Test it and test it often. I just love it when it comes together like that. It makes me very happy. Some of this stuff you'll have to move out of the way because it needs a clear path. Bit of a clear path to get in there. There we go. So I think you can pretty much get the idea of what's going on here. And notice how this is a bigger piece. Notice how big this piece is compared to the piece that gets nested. That's with that math random. It's 120 by 120, and then when it sinks down into here, it's... There you go. So anyway, you shouldn't have any of this behind here, so go ahead and clean that up, and that's pretty easy fix. If you cut it up and slice and dice it right, it all should come together just fine. Alrighty? And you can see right here, where my problems are. See where these white spots are? Yeah, you can pretty much go in and clean that all up and figure that out. Alright, if you got any questions, give me a call. Go back and check your program. I think probably what I will do, though, is I will give you the program, the programming portions in text so that you don't have to worry about whether you typed it wrong. But as long as you can try it on your own and program it all in, or you can copy and paste it off the website. But pretty much that's up to you. Anyway, if you have any questions, give me an email. I look forward to seeing everybody's projects.